Lewis Hamilton just activated a rear wing in Bahrain that looks like it came from the future. During preseason testing, the Ferrari SF26 did not simply open its rear flap. It rotated almost 180 degrees, nearly inverted. Engineers measured a straight-line gain of around 12 kilometers per hour, without extra battery deployment, without a tow. Pure aerodynamic efficiency. And insiders estimate the full package could be worth between 3 and 5 tenths per lap. In modern Formula One, that is not an upgrade. That is domination. But here is where it becomes explosive. Red Bull immediately went to the FIA. Safety concerns. Legality questions. Because if that hydraulic system fails at full speed, rear downforce disappears instantly. So now we are watching a potential championship-defining innovation, before the first race has even begun. Did Ferrari just outsmart the rulebook? Will the FIA allow this radical interpretation? And why did Vasseur and Leclerc reportedly go silent when the data came through? Subscribe now. Because what Hamilton revealed in Bahrain could shift the balance of power before a single point is scored. Let's slow that moment down. Because the shock did not come from a headline. It came from the straight. Hamilton exits the final corner in Bahrain. The car looks stable. Nothing dramatic. Just another preseason lap. Then he activates low drag mode. And the rear wing does not behave like anything we have seen in modern Formula One. It does not gently open like the old drag reduction system. It rotates. Aggressively. Almost completely over. For a split second, the upper element looks inverted against the sky. Engineers on rival pit walls immediately start replaying the footage. Zooming in. Measuring angles. Comparing frames. Because under the new active aerodynamic regulations, movable aero is allowed. But this level of rotation? That is interpretation pushed to the limit. Ferrari found something subtle in the wording. The regulations clearly define how fast the element can move. They do not explicitly define how far it can rotate once in low drag mode. That gray area became the breakthrough. And the numbers explain why the reaction was so intense. On the straight, the SF26 gained roughly 12 km per hour in top speed. Not by burning extra hybrid energy. Not by using a special engine mode. But by eliminating drag almost entirely. That solves a major weakness Ferrari showed earlier in testing. Energy clipping at the end of long straights. Lower drag means lower resistance. Lower resistance means reduced battery consumption. Which means more consistent power delivery deep into braking zones. In Bahrain, where long straights dominate the layout, that advantage multiplies lap after lap. But here is what truly left Vasseur and Leclerc shaken. The gain was not isolated to straight-line speed. Through the middle sector, the car looked sharp, reactive. Leclerc described the balance shift as artificial rotation. Sharper turn-in. Later apex commitment. And Hamilton's telemetry in the fast corners showed something equally important. Stability. Flat platform. No chronic understeer. He even mentioned feeling more connected to the rear than in previous machinery. That combination is dangerous. Because straight-line speed without corner balance is useless. But straight-line speed combined with dynamic aero balance? That is transformative. And early internal estimates suggest the full package could be worth between 3 and 5 tenths per lap. In a field where tenths decide championships, that is enormous. But innovation at this level never exists without risk. The system relies on complex hydraulics and precise software timing. The front and rear wings do not always move together. On entry, the front closes first. On exit, it opens first. The aerodynamic center shifts mid-corner. If that timing is perfect, the car feels like two machines in one. If it lags by even a fraction, instability appears. And at over 300 km per hour, instability is unforgiving. That is why Red Bull reacted immediately. They raised safety concerns. They questioned the legality of using exhaust gases to energize airflow. They pointed to the possibility of hydraulic failure in low drag mode. Because if the rear wing remains inverted approaching a braking zone, downforce vanishes. That is not theoretical. That is dangerous. So while Ferrari celebrates a potential breakthrough, the political tension is rising quietly in the background. We are still in preseason testing. No qualifying sessions. No race starts. Yet meetings with the FIA are already happening. Because if this concept is approved without restriction, the entire grid must respond. Rear structures would need redesigning. Hydraulic systems re-engineered. Development paths accelerated. And that ripple effect would define the season before it even begins. So what Hamilton revealed was not just a clever piece of engineering. It was a statement. A statement that Ferrari is willing to reinterpret the rulebook aggressively. A statement that they may have solved straight-line efficiency without sacrificing corner performance. and a statement that has already forced rivals into reaction mode. The only question now is simple. Will the FIA allow this interpretation to stand? Or will Bahrain be remembered as the place where Formula One nearly entered a new aerodynamic era before the first race ever started? Now here is where the tension truly escalates. Because once an innovation crosses from impressive to disruptive, it stops being just a technical story. It becomes political. Inside the paddock, the reaction was immediate. Not loud, not dramatic, but focused. Red Bull representatives began gathering data. High-resolution images, activation timing, rotation angles, frame-by-frame breakdowns of the rear wing movement. They are not just questioning performance. They are questioning interpretation. And more importantly, safety. If that upper rear element rotates almost completely inverted in low drag mode, what happens if the hydraulic system fails? What happens if the wing remains in that position entering a heavy braking zone at full speed? Rear downforce would vanish instantly. At over 300 kilometers per hour. That is not a minor instability. That is a potential loss of control. And safety arguments carry enormous weight with the FIA. But here is what makes this situation even more fascinating. Ferrari did not hide the system. They ran it openly, repeatedly, confidently. That suggests they believe their interpretation of the regulations is solid. They are not experimenting in secrecy. They are challenging the field publicly. And that sends a message. Now imagine the internal discussions inside Ferrari. You have data suggesting a potential gain of 3 to 5 tenths per lap. You have straight-line speed advantages close to 12 kilometers per hour. You have improved energy management. You have drivers reporting sharper turn-in and stronger traction. And you also know that one technical directive could restrict the entire concept before the first race. That is a delicate balance. Because innovation at this level lives on the edge of legality. Push too far, and it is banned. Push just enough, and you redefine the competitive order. Meanwhile, Hamilton continues adapting. He has acknowledged that the system requires trust. Absolute trust. The front wing closes first on entry. The rear responds milliseconds later. On exit, the sequence reverses. The car shifts its aerodynamic balance mid-corner. If the timing is flawless, it feels like precision engineering. If there is even slight lag, it becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability at high speed is unforgiving. Leclerc described the sensation as artificial rotation. That word matters. Artificial means engineered rather than natural. It demands confidence in software as much as in mechanical grip. So as preseason testing continues in Bahrain, we are not just watching lap times. We are watching a potential turning point in aerodynamic philosophy. If the FIA approves the system without restriction, Ferrari could begin the season with a structural advantage. Rivals would need to redesign rear structures. Hydraulic systems would need rethinking. Development programs would shift overnight. But if the FIA restricts the rotation angle, the entire narrative changes. Ferrari would need to adapt quickly. And the psychological momentum would shift back toward the rest of the grid. That uncertainty is what makes this moment so intense. Because for now, Hamilton has validated the concept on track. Vasseur has seen the data. Leclerc has felt the balance shift. Red Bull has raised concerns. And the FIA is evaluating. No one is celebrating loudly. No one is conceding anything. But everyone understands that this rear wing is not just an upgrade. It is a line in the rulebook being tested in real time. And when the lights finally go out for the first race, we will discover whether Bahrain was the birthplace of a new aerodynamic era, or the moment Formula One decided that this interpretation went just a fraction too far. But there is one final layer that could make this even bigger than a preseason headline. Because if the FIA allows this rear wing to stand, it does not just give Ferrari an advantage. It forces the entire grid into reaction mode. And reaction mode is dangerous at the start of a regulation cycle. Think about what copying this concept actually requires. The rear wing does not exist in isolation. It is mounted to the crash structure. The crash structure connects to the gearbox casing. The gearbox defines rear suspension geometry. If you want to rotate the upper element almost completely inverted, you need structural reinforcement. You need hydraulic systems capable of handling extreme loads. You need software precise to the millisecond. And every one of those changes affects weight distribution. Weight distribution affects tire degradation. Tire degradation affects race strategy. Nothing in Formula One changes alone. So if Ferrari's system is declared fully compliant, we are not looking at a small upgrade race. We are looking at a development arms race. Teams will rush to win tunnels. Simulation departments will run overnight correlation models. Engineers who thought their designs were finalized will reopen drawings. Because 3 to 5 tenths per lap is not optional. It is mandatory to respond. But here is the risk Ferrari must quietly accept. The more complex a system becomes, the narrower the margin for error. Hydraulics under constant pressure. Software synchronization under extreme temperature shifts. Hundreds of activations per race distance. Preseason testing is controlled. A race weekend is chaos. Dirty air. Wheel-to-wheel battles. Sudden defensive moves. Late braking under pressure. If the wing transitions perfectly in clean air, that is one thing. If it transitions perfectly while fighting another car at full speed, that is another. Drivers must commit to corners believing that the aerodynamic balance will shift exactly when programmed. No hesitation. No lag. Because at over 300 km per hour, hesitation is the difference between control and catastrophe. That is why Red Bull's argument is so strategic. They are not only attacking performance. They are framing it as a safety question. And safety questions carry influence. If the FIA issues a technical directive limiting the rotation angle before the first race, the entire narrative flips overnight. Ferrari goes from innovators to restricted challengers. If the FIA approves it without change, Ferrari enters race weekend with psychological momentum and a potential straight-line advantage that alters qualifying and race strategy. So as Bahrain testing continues, the tension is building quietly. Hamilton has validated the concept on track. Leclerc has confirmed the cornering benefits. Vasseur has seen numbers suggesting a generational gain. Red Bull has initiated discussions. Other teams are watching carefully. And the FIA holds the final word. This is not just about a rear wing. It is about the balance between innovation and regulation. About how far a team can push interpretation before the sport pushes back. And when the lights finally go out for the first race, we will not just be watching lap times. We will be watching the outcome of a battle that began in testing. Because if this insane rear wing survives scrutiny, Bahrain will be remembered as the moment Ferrari forced Formula One into a new aerodynamic era. And if it does not, it will still be remembered as the moment they came closer than anyone expected.